Now, I want you to watch these clips carefully. As always, not emotionally. This time, not even politically, just honestly, because what's happening in Minnesota isn't disorder by accident. It's destabilization with perfect timing. And every time the left says you're overreacting, that's usually right before they tell you it's too late to do anything about it, right? So, yeah, this clip right here, you just notice how fast things went from vigils to barricades, right? It says, I'm going to zoom out real quick. Protesters have declared Minneapolis Autonomous Zone 2.0 at the site of today's shooting. The zone has 2 layers of makeshift walls in both directions. It also appears to be protected by MPD and Tim Walz's National Guard, huh? Okay. Infrastructure. That's not grief. That's organization. And here's the manipulation. The left wants you to believe this is spontaneous outrage. We definitely debunked that in the last video, while quietly calling in the same groups that always show up after, they call them in after the cameras arrive. Which brings us to the part they don't really want compared, right? Check this out.
Hey, yo, America. Understand this. I'm a black man in America, right? I walk around with a 19 on my hip, a SIG in my glove compartment, and an AR-15 in my 2020 Honda Accord daily, right? And you know what I don't do?
What's that?
With those things? I don't go and impede law enforcement carrying out their duties.
Ding, ding, ding.
You know what I do? I mind my business. That's all I do. I go out there, I drink water, I get money, and I mind my business. You know my favorite saying, right? And for some reason, I'm able to survive. Every single day, I'm able to come home, run my kids a bath, tuck them in, and continue to do my thing. No harm comes to me, no harm comes to my family. I also have a 12-gauge pump, away from the kids, of course, because, you got to be a responsible pew-pew owner. Okay? And no harm comes to me and my family because I mind my business. I'll let the law do the law things. If I have beef, I petition my lawmakers. I don't go and take it out on law enforcement who are also citizens and Americans like me. And for some reason, I'm still here. There's a lesson in that.
Yep. Now, this right here, this part, it completely breaks the spell because this isn't a politician. It's not a pundit, right? It's not a press conference. It's a black man saying something the left refuses to let exist in the conversation, right? Behavior matters. Not the slogans, not all them hashtags, not the social media posts, not the vibes. You know what I'm saying? Behavior. It's not denying history. That's not what he's doing. He's not dismissing injustice. He's explaining cause and effect. And notice how uncomfortable that makes certain people, man. Because if this is true, then the manipulation falls apart, right? If compliance exists, if responsibility exists, then the narrative that everything is unavoidable stops working. Yeah, man. Talk about accountability. So now that you've seen, one path that escalates to one path that survives, let's zoom out because Minnesota leadership has seen this moment definitely before. Check out what Trump had to say about it.
Said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He said, I think they're going to attack me. This was during the riots and everything else. They were MAGA people. They like the American flag, all right? And they also had Trump. And I said, how do you know? There were about 15,000, He said, could you put out a word like that I'm your friend? I don't even know him, but that's the only time I ever spoke to him. And if you look back long ago, tweets, before truth, tweets, long ago, I put out a statement. He's a good man, the governor. He's on our side. I didn't know him, but I didn't want him to get hurt. And everybody put down their flags and they left. He said it was a miracle. He said it was a miracle. I didn't want him to get hurt.
Scared by the American flag.
They are.
Wow.
They say he's not a nice guy. I would have had fun with that. I'm like, call the barbecue, go outside.
He remembers it, actually. He was a little bit nervous about things. They had one guard. He said, we have one guard at the door. It was the mansion from the state. Then he said, we have one guard at the door, and you have 15,000 people out there. And I'm a little bit, I don't know, they look violent. I said, are they carrying the American flag? They're not going to be violent.
Yes.
But I put out a statement, and they just went back. It was sort of a beautiful thing in a lot of ways. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, this whole clip, it hits different now, don't it? This is Trump telling Gutfield the Tim Walz flag story, right? Because the same leadership that panics at American flag suddenly has no problem letting mass activists fortify city blocks. That's not inconsistency, right? That's priority, y'all. And once you see that, this next clip stops sounding dramatic and starts sounding pretty accurate.
Have lived here for some time, just up the road for a period of time. How would you describe just the way as a Minneapolis resident that you're feeling right now?
Can I describe it not as a Minneapolis resident, but as an American citizen? Thank you. This started as a pretext about immigration and the fraud, whatever. It's well beyond that now. It's into your Second Amendment. It's into your Fourth Amendment. It's into your Sixth Amendment. This is so far beyond what people at home probably are watching going, oh, it's Minneapolis. It's woke Hoth. It doesn't affect me, whatever. It does. It's you. It's you as well now. Wake up. Please watch what's happening here. I feel like we're performing CPR on what may already be a corpse called the Constitution. And yeah, there's plenty of people online laughing at us and going, haha, tryhards. But I think it's worth it, and I hope you do too.
Well, you were saying to me earlier that you were HOA president for a while.
Yeah, I'm the Square community, man. I built real estate document search portal sites for Wells Fargo. I am the Square community. But
you were HOA president, Frank and Nick. So this community to happen here, for this to happen here at this intersection on Nicollet in East Street, how do you begin to explain the significance of it happening here today?
I assume it's Kristi Noem's provocation. She saw how much this city hates her clowns, hates her scarecrows, and said, we'll double down. We'll put the boot a little bit harder on the throat.
How long will you stay out here?
Till my balls get cold. Just till it gets too cold. Probably all day, I think, yeah.
That line sticks because it's not hysterical. It's exhausted, man. Oh, my gosh. While performing CPR on the Constitution. This started as immigration, then it became enforcement. Now it's barricades, zones, and a whole lot of selective outrage attached to it. And every single time, we try to warn this is getting bigger than they're admitting, the Democrats just sit there and smirk at us. Yeah. Until the fire's already spread it. Which brings us to this next reaction. And this is why that previous clip you seen is why this matters.
A search warrant this morning. Do you think they'll abide by a court order from the federal judge?
They have to abide. So the question is, they defied a search warrant this morning. Will they abide by a court order by a federal judge? Hey, everybody listen to that question. The question is, will this administration abide by a court order? These are the underpinnings of our democracy, of our republic, and of this Constitution. The answer better be yes. Whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you abide by those court orders. The answer has to be yes if you are a patriot for this country. And so, yes, my expectation is that they will abide by the court order because there is not an alternative.
A search warrant this morning.
Okay, so this is one of those moments where the left accidentally tells on itself because suddenly now they care deeply about the rule of law. Right when federal enforcement doesn't benefit them, right? It's funny how that works. I'm just saying. And while leadership argues in press conferences, the streets, they just keep escalating, which leads to the most uncomfortable clip of them all.
Every day, it makes it easier and easier not to feel sorry for y'all, I know what happened with old boy in Minnesota. He had a gun on him, but like I said, bro, y'all out here defending pedophiles, rapists, and all that shit. So as of right now, I could really care less about what happened to any of y'all liberals. You feel me? I feel like if y'all want to risk y'all life for illegals and rapists and sex offenders that don't give a fuck about you, then why would we care that you're risking your life? So yeah, Buddy got exactly what he fucking deserved. This is what he wanted. He woke up in the morning that morning and said, let me go see how I can find a way to get unalived by ICE. Let me go. My illegal immigrants are more important than my own life. Those was his words. I'm just saying. So yeah, another one down, and yeah, keep going, ICE. You know, at this rate, you feel me? By the end of the year, shit, there ain't gonna be no more liberals. Shit.
It gets easier not to feel sorry, he says. You don't have to agree with how he says it, but you should understand why it resonates, right? Because when leadership refuses to draw lines to publics, man, they start drawing their own. And that's when things completely stop being political and start entering into the dangerous side of things. Now, watch what happens when someone finally connects the dots out loud.
Do you think it's a coincidence that deportations are happening all across the country, but it's only in Minnesota where we see this level of chaos? Is it also a coincidence that it's the same state, same leadership that has this massive fraud scandal? Why aren't we seeing this type of chaos in other cities and states? Okay, what's the common denominator? It's leadership, right? You see Jacob Fry, you see Tim Walz. They keep going out, and what are they telling their base? Go out there, follow ICE, obstruct, record them, use your bodies, use your cars, whatever you need to do, stop them. Jacob Fry said, get the F out, ICE. So why don't they want immigration enforced there? You have to ask these very pertinent, simple questions. Like, why don't they want ICE there? This is even prior to the situation with Renee Good, right? See, they know that the chaos is going to ensue anytime you direct citizens to go and obstruct federal law enforcement, which, by the way, they're also saying that they're not actually law enforcement. That's another lie they're telling their base, to embolden them to go against these regular guys who aren't, quote unquote, federal agents, right? Is to cause confusion and embolden, give their base a sense of entitlement. They think they're doing something righteous. And so they go out, they create all this chaos. And then, of course, with this level of chaos, something's going to go wrong, as it did today. And guess what? What are they going to say? See, look, and now Jacob Fry and Tim Walz have instantly gone to their social media to say, okay, President Trump, you see what's happening? We need you to get rid of ICE. We need you to stop the operations and pull out. That's the goal.
Yep.
That's what they wanted all along. Why? Because they don't want ICE deporting their new voter base. They need them. You know why they need them? Take a guess. Why is Jacob Fry dancing around waving a Somali flag and speaking in Somalian, and Minnesota officials are wearing hijabs even though they're Catholic? Why? None of this is coincidence. They need to keep the illegals here. And so they have rallied their base for their own political game. And they're hoping that it'll turn the public so far against ICE that they'll get what they want, which is to have ICE removed so that they can allow the criminality to continue, because allegedly they're implicated and included in that. That's the real tea.
Yep. And this is why timing matters. Antifa doesn't show up randomly. And leadership silence is never neutral. Let me take it back to something I know. Minnesota didn't get, tense. It entered a new phase, one, where the rules blur and the streets test boundaries. And the federal government isn't being dared to respond, right? When enforcement is selective, man, destabilization, that isn't resistance. It's strategy. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to write phase shift. All right. I want you to put that in there. That way I know who actually caught what change. Not even for the algorithm. I'm over here trying to Google how to pronounce this again.
Autonomous.
I said it right. Autonomous. Having the freedom to govern yourself, or control its own affairs. Yeah. Okay, cool. Bet. Y'all be safe. Go check on somebody today. You could be saving their life. Peace.